I'm concerned about my 30M, wife's 28F, new friend, 29F, and am doubting her intentions. Would appreciate your perspective. I, 30M, have been married to my wife Sam, 28F, for 3 years. About a year ago, we moved to a new city because I was offered a promotion. Sam was hesitant at first, but soon came around to the idea. Since arriving in the city, we have both been busy with work and have struggled to make new friends. Around 4 months in, Sam told me she had met a new friend, Jane, 29F, and they had a lot in common. I was happy for her, and we planned a double date with Jane and her husband a few weeks later. At the first dinner, we started to make the usual small talk, but when I tried to engage with Jane, she seemed cold and dismissive. For the rest of the night, I was left to speak to the husband while my wife and Jane were deep in conversation. Every time I tried to join their chat, Jane started talking to my wife again. The husband never tried to get involved. I brushed this off as Jane maybe being a bit shy around new people and forgot about it. Over the next month, Sam and Jane would text constantly, have long phone calls at night, and meet up a couple of times a week for coffee/lunch. This didn't bother me, and I just thought that they were forming a close friendship. We then went out again for dinner, and the same thing happened, although Jane spoke to the whole group more this time, but she made a number of comments alluding to her being bisexual and her and husband being in some sort of open relationship. When we moved on to a bar, Jane sat across from my wife and started openly flirting with her. She would make suggestive comments, compliment her, and use any excuse to make physical contact with her, touching her hands, shoulders, etc. When we got home, I made a joke asking Sam if she enjoyed her date with Jane. She looked confused and asked what I meant. I said that Jane had made me a bit uncomfortable with her flirting, but she said, "That's just how she is." I told her that I wasn't sure Jane just wanted to be friends and asked her to be careful. For reference, Sam has never shown any real interest in women, and as far as I know, she is straight. She is also endearingly naive and will always see the best in people. The texting and calls continued, and Sam started going over to Jane's apartment at least once a week and wouldn't come home until quite late. I was wary, but she would always tell me what they had done/watched, etc. After one of these visits, I asked what Jane's husband was up to and was slightly shocked to hear that he was away on a business trip. Apparently, he traveled a lot and Jane didn't like being home alone. This came to a boiling point a few weeks ago when I took Jane's husband to play golf. We were supposed to go out for drinks/dinner after with the other two guys, but they both had to cancel last minute. On the 10-minute drive back to my house, I could see Jane's husband texting Jane. Jane and Sam were supposed to be going out for shopping and lunch, but when we arrived at my place, they both looked flustered, sitting at opposite ends of the couch. We made awkward small talk for a while, but I went into the bedroom. I noticed Jane's smartwatch sitting by the bed. They left quickly, and I decided it was time to talk to Sam. I casually asked her what she bought at the mall and where they went for lunch. She said they decided to stay home instead because Jane had a headache. I asked her to be honest about what they had done, and she swore that they had just chatted all afternoon and they were just friends. I told her I was uncomfortable with a lot of things that have happened, but she tried to reassure me. I noticed later that the smartwatch was gone, but I didn't bring this up to Sam. Since then, there have been no phone calls or messages while I was around, and Sam seemed extra loving and attentive. She rarely brought up Jane, but last night she mentioned that she was going to a concert with Jane on Saturday, then would crash at her place. I said I wasn't comfortable with this and offered to pick her up instead. She got angry and said that I was acting controlling and crazy, then went to bed. We haven't spoken since, but am I overreacting here? Should I try to stop her from staying over on Saturday? I think I trust Sam, but something is telling me that her relationship with Jane is not just as friends. Should I snoop? TLDR, wife made a new friend and I am concerned about their close relationship. Update. Many of you were asking for an update, so here you go. Original post is in my profile. After reading your messages and comments, my head was a mess. I decided I needed some firm proof that Sam was cheating before I confronted her. When I got home from work, Sam had made dinner as normal and sat with me while I ate. I acted normally with her, and she caught me off guard by apologizing for her behavior the night before. She asked if I was still willing to pick her up, or she would even try to find someone selling a ticket if I wanted to come along. I asked her to try to find a ticket, and she seemed happy. The rest of the night was normal, and after we went to bed, I couldn't sleep. Around 1 a.m., Sam was sound asleep, so I grabbed her phone and went to the bathroom. I unlocked it, we know each other's passcodes, and braced myself. I knew they texted each other on WhatsApp, so I started by trying to find any other messaging apps. I checked everywhere and used the trick someone recommended of looking at the battery usage to see the most used apps. I didn't find anything. Sam is not into social media and doesn't use Instagram, Snapchat, etc. I also checked her browser history, emails, photos, call logs, deleted items, etc., and couldn't find anything out of the ordinary. I decided to check WhatsApp next and open the chat with Jane. I found hundreds of messages, sometimes up to 50 per day between them. Around 99% of them were completely normal, talking about TV shows, books, music, recipes, family, day-to-day life, etc. The other 1% that might be a bit suspect included: Jane would often bring up spicy parts of books and TV shows and want to talk about it. This happened regularly, and Sam would engage, but not in too much detail. One conversation about sex that Jane initiated, which came from a scene in a book. She was complaining that her husband is submissive and got quite explicit. Sam shared a bit too much about our sex life, but nothing outrageous, and she was very complimentary about me. Jane replied she was jealous in a joking way with some emojis. Jane casually mentioned that she had a friend over a few times when Sam asked what she was up to. Sam's replies were always along the lines of "have fun." Jane would complain about her husband a lot and ask about our relationship. Again, Sam was complimentary and didn't say anything particularly negative about me. Jane sent Sam a link to a sex toy asking for her opinion. Sam replied, "Oh, yeah, we have one of those. It's great." There were no nudes or anything pointing towards them having had sex. Nothing had been deleted. I checked some of the chats with her other friends, and they were very similar. What was most concerning was the way which Jane texted Sam. She would always initiate the conversation and follow up 3 to 4 times until Sam responded. She would then start calling if she didn't respond. There were also a few messages where Jane's tone changed when Sam wouldn't reply. She would become less friendly and cold. Also, when Jane asked Sam to do something together, there was always a subtle guilt trip added, like she didn't want to go alone because of social anxiety, she was scared being home by herself, etc. The messages/calls slowed down in the last few weeks because they were both complaining about being busy and Jane had been out of town. Even though I didn't find the smoking gun I was looking for, it's clear that Jane and her weird husband are bad news for our marriage. We will be having a come to Jesus conversation tonight where I will get the truth because Sam is a terrible liar. If nothing more has happened, I will make it clear that divorce is still on the table if these creeps are not permanently and immediately removed from our lives. Final update. First of all, my original post was not intended to cover all of the things that led to me being suspicious of Sam's relationship with Jane. There were a number of other factors, for example, Sam prioritizing communicating and spending time with Jane over me, Sam not talking about Jane like she did with her other friends, etc. We did talk about most of this at the time because, believe it or not, we do have good and regular communication. Now on to the update. Sam came home on Friday, and we sat down to talk after dinner. This was not a big showdown, but just a normal conversation that lasted many hours. Here is a summary. 1. Sam originally loved spending time with Jane, but it became too intense and weird for her a few months ago. She feels Jane is too needy and controlling, but didn't want to lose her only close friend in the city. 2. Sam knows that Jane has a crush on her, but made it clear that she was happily married and straight. She should have told me about this, but knew that I wouldn't be okay with it. 3. Nothing physical happened between them. Jane tried to initiate physical contact in a playful way and made suggestive comments about Sam, her body, etc. Sam shut this down. 4. Sam told me that she wanted to cut down contact with Jane and focus more on our relationship and spending time with a new friend she has made. As for my concerns, here is Sam's explanation. Jane's attitude towards me. Apparently, she doesn't like most men and treats her husband terribly. The flustered/awkward situation when I came home from golf. Jane was showing Sam some spicy scenes from a new TV show. They didn't realize we were coming back early and switched the TV off as we came through the door. The watch. Jane was going to borrow a dress for a wedding and went into our bedroom to try some on. Sam assumes she took it off, and when she saw it, she put it in her bag to give it back to her later. Sam's reaction when I asked her not to crash at Jane's apartment. Apparently Jane had planned a girls' night after, and Sam thought she would get angry if she canceled. I also told Sam that I snooped on her phone. She was initially angry but understood why I did it and forgave me. We both apologized to each other and went to bed. I managed to get a ticket for the concert and went with Sam and Jane last night. Jane made some thinly veiled comments/jokes about me being their chaperone, etc., but I laughed it off. We met another couple there, and I ended up hanging out with the other husband while the ladies danced, etc. Long story short, we are good. I trust my wife, and we had a long conversation about boundaries, etc. Thanks to all of you that provided constructive/helpful comments, but given the number of insults and offensive messages I've received, I won't be coming to Reddit for advice again anytime soon.